Greetings, I am Lies.
And I am Scandal.
And let's play a game together. Let's try and make things work with Blaine there. What I'm hoping for, really, is that with Blaine, that he's going to be basically harmless and irritating for not doing much work or needing too much instruction, rather than convincing Lily to have a lower quality standard and to just that it's good enough.
Yes.
One of the things that I have had, and this does not mean this is all men in any way at all, but in reference to my limited relationships with men, because...
So limited. So many more than I've ever had,
It's true, but I'm just like...
my limited exposure to men. Me sips my tea quietly, awkwardly off in a corner.
I've dated like 2, so you know. Okay, so...
Pretty much.
When I say limited, it's in reference to this isn't necessarily a good population sample.
Yes.
That one. I would say is that there's a lot of... If they engage with your work at all, the men that I have dated,
yes,
there's a level of your quality standard is too high, you're nitpicking too much, you're too much of a perfectionist, just make it good enough and stop. And some of that can be reasonable if you're like digging into a project and frustrating the hell out of yourself, or you're going every speck of dust in the whole house must be removed, and so forth, I can never do anything else but dust. Whatever it is, which those aren't necessarily real life examples at all, just picking things out of the air. I say, but other times it's like I am doing my art and they're going, but you just need to sell it, so it's just good enough.
Right.
That nobody's going to notice this thing or that thing. You just need to drop your quality some. No one will care. And I'm like, I care so
much.
Additionally, when I have done art for as a for selling it, it really has been, or like voice acting as a service. Quality has been what has gotten me and retained customers.
Yes.
And so it's like I don't agree, but I just don't want him to do that because that would be personally a sore spot for me.
Yes.
Anyway. Here we go ahead. Welcome back. It is lovely to not see all of you.
And you can totally see us gesture all of the time. It's a thing that we actually constantly make fun of for ourselves, where we gesture at everyone or everything.
Constantly. We just sit here and like, when we're going, there's some things in scripture, we're both pointing down. Like, and it does nothing. But we have a good laugh at ourselves sometimes. We're like, when we wave and we say goodbye, because of course, you can feel it in the ether.
Or we say hello, and I'm waving now, going hello.
We're very gesture oriented. So if you ever thought our voices were animated, we're very animated.
Yes, absolutely. It's kind of part of fun.
The one job that I had that was vaguely like customer service, because I was a seasonal employee for JCPenney Portraits one time. So I worked there for like 3 months.
Right.
And that's the only customer service type job I've ever had in my life. And when I was in my training, what I got with pegged was theatrical. You're very theatrical in the way you approach people. And I'm like, that's just me. All right, this oak tree needs a haircut. Like someone else I know. Okay,
are you thinking about Luke, or are you talking...
I think I'm talking about him. I really think in this moment she's probably talking about Blaine. However, going, if you're not in a relationship with him, if he's not in your life, you have no ability to judge him.
Yes.
So this is actually something I've just talked to my therapist about, and I do have a therapist, which is super cool because I haven't had one for a long time, but I now have an insurance situation where I can, and that's awesome.
Yes.
Anyway, where there's this experience with people who are, you don't need to have, like, but you've told not to be in your lives, but continue to be in your life for one obligation reason or another, or for, basically just social overlap.
Right.
And once they are not in a relationship with you, they have no permission to judge you, and you have no permission to judge them in any way that affects or impacts them. Sure, you can do whatever you want in your own head, but you no longer have any credence over their life or their space, and they neither do over you.
Right.
And my therapist was talking about good boundaries, and how that's a really important thing to be like, you don't get to tell them what they do or don't need to do if it's not directly in reference to you and your comfort. Nothing about their own choices, you know? And they don't get to tell you either, neither positive or negative judgments, because you don't need and are not connected to their approval anymore.
Right, which is actually a really important thing to realize in recognition of, like, people's boundaries anyway, of going like, yeah, sure, you can dislike someone, but specifically going out of your way to either interact with them and tell them, well, you can't do this thing because I don't like it, you're not allowed to, or you can do that thing because I do like it, that's not a boundary, you're not supposed to be doing this, walk away.
Right, and the thing is, just like her going, like someone else I know, basically digging at him, if she doesn't want to be involved with him, she should not be sharing opinions about the way he keeps himself.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense to me. I do. Well, it's not as if I can afford a new coif from Jean-Pierre right now.
You just...
And what? You don't like it? A new hairstyle for a new Blaine?
I mean, she's got that kind of like, ah, you adorable, idiot kind of face again.
Right.
And I'm like, why do men always think not cutting your hair is a hairstyle? Okay, that's really a jab. This is the kind of crap that I don't like about you, Lily, and does not endear me to you as a character. And
Nope.
I'm not saying you can't be this person and that someone can't write this. I'm just going, how is this supposed to connect us to Lily? Like, if she is supposed to be a likable protagonist as opposed to a dislikable protagonist, then how is this supposed to connect us?
I'm also just like, in regards to not cutting hair, there actually is plenty of times where I've seen people who are like, I just don't really cut my hair, and you're like, looks great. Like, honestly, there's also a thing though too of some people specifically just go, well, I just don't like men with longer hair, and it's gross, and I'm like, really? But why? The other thing that I've always thought is really funny is when people go, God, your hair is getting so long, and I just kind of look at them, and I'm like, that to you is long or longer or just getting in it way too long? You're kidding.
When I have seen it in reference to some of my male friends, people going, God, your hair is getting so long. It's like it's, starting to cover the tops of their ears.
I know!
I'm just like, that's not getting long. It might be getting a little bit shaggy, or the style they had might be coming out, essentially, like growing out of that style anymore. But I'm just like, anyway.
Because your hair grows at different rates across your head, so...
I don't like how Lily continues to judge the men. Like, she seems like she just hates men.
She really does. She seems like she has so many deep-seated issues that might be literally from Blaine.
It could be, or she could have ended up with Blaine because of previous issues with men, and he just sort of dug into those harder and exacerbated them.
Yes.
But at any rate, I'm just like, why do men always think not cutting your hair is a hairstyle? I'm like, you're really being kind of
judgy.
A bitch.
Yeah.
Weirdly judgy. And also, again, you're digging your way in. We're connected. We have the right to judge each other. And going, this is what that behavior is doing. I
have seen some people, like culturally, I have been exposed to the concept that really people just go, yeah, you're just allowed to basically nag on each other or, nag at each other going, you're so gross, God, you're still so nasty, that time when we dated, blah, 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 whatever. And I'm like, that sounds awful. Like, the level of, like, heterosexual, like, what I call fandom, or what both of us call as fandom, seems to be really super aggressive. And we've mentioned this before, where even just, like, the way that they'll refer to each other, even when they're already married or already involved, you're like, you talk about your partner in such a shitty way.
Like you hate them.
It's amazing. Like, yeah, you should hate them based off of all the other, cues that I've ever known in my entire life.
And again, like, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this. I'm just going, I don't understand what the point of this is, other than to show that Lily can really be an asshole sometimes.
Right?
Stand back so you won't get hit by falling branches.
Yep.
Hippie.
That's kind of where I was afraid it was going to go, because you're a hippie because you won't cut your hair, and your hair... The non-hippie is to keep your hair short and clean and cut. The modern man doesn't have longer hair, which I think is ridiculous, because to me, he still doesn't have all that long hair at all. In fact, that's an entire hairstyle. Yeah,
as I said, that is a whole ass hairstyle that I've seen people wear. If anything, it could be more of a, are you trying to grow a beard, or do you need to shave?
Right.
Kind of thing. But, like, he really can wear himself however he wants to.
No shit.
It's his body.
There's also the other thing, too, that sometimes beards look great. Also, shockingly, so does some, basically, like, scruff look good on some people. But also, it's like, if that person is happy, you'd be shocked how many people, like, look amazing because they're so happy. And you go, like, normally, I wouldn't find that to be very attractive. But because they're such a light... and they're so delighted by their own experience, you just go, you look fabulous, no matter what you're wearing, no matter who you are, no matter how your body's constructed in that moment.
You just look great. You look like you're glowing with something that I am totally into.
Absolutely.
But I was just like, it's again this thing of going, if you don't want him judging you, why are you judging him? And also, if you don't want him in your life, why are you making him a part of your life by spending your energy and your opinions on him?
Yeah, well, we're apparently going to go through this arc for the last 10 days, which horrifies me.
All right, well, there we go. All right. Don't get hit by branches. Lots of falling branches later.
Whack.
I'm just imagining her trimming the huge-ass, thick, heavy oak branches with this tiny little clippy trimmer and going, that is amazing. You should need a chainsaw for that.
Okay, that remaining there is mind-boggling because it says Arturo Leonardo 1933. That tree should have overgrown that like crazy.
Yes.
Holy cow.
The way they've illustrated it here, it's like you've scraped away the bark and opened up the actual like underwood.
Yeah.
And if it hasn't rotted out, then the tree grows over it. So as much tree trimming and care as I have done, there's a solid experience of going, when you shear off part of the bark, the tree will slowly start to grow over it, often creating like a burl or something. But basically, the inside wood of most trees is not alive. but there is a layer of like life that is on the outside. That's the whole ring experience kind of thing.
Right.
That is the bark and the immediate underwood kind of thing, much like our skin.
Yes.
And what it will do is it will start growing this sort of like thinner bark, sort of almost like rolling in like water experience, from the edges of where you've stripped the bark out,
Right.
and just slowly encase it. And sometimes you'll see the seams or scars on trees of it where there's this long sort of like almost like, lip experience of two rolls of tree coming together. And that's where it's seamed together or, reattached its bark where it used to be cut open like this.
Right.
So I'm not believing that for a minute now.
No, that is actually one of the worst things I think I've seen out of this game in regards to how it wanted it to work.
Unless Mary's come down here and recarved it occasionally.
Maybe, but the thing is
wild.
that's still been several years, because if we're going with the idea that Mary basically was in care for several years before she died, I mean...
Yeah, and this basically house and garden had no one living here for an amount of time.
Or nobody at least caretaking for it.
Right, and if she was living here, it was assisted living because her health was so declined.
Right.
And just, wow.
Hey, someone carved up your tree.
And we couldn't see it until we cut away the branches.
Wow, that's super meta.
Huh.
Of only being able to see it from above because they can't see it from below.
Right, because they can't see it until the viewer can see it, because them standing there and staring straight at the tree, it's not visible until you cut the branches for the sky view. That's amazing.
That's really bad.
What?
Check it out.
I'm looking. It's right there.
We're literally looking.
Examine the oak tree.
Or replace the soil. Replace the soil on
where?
What?
In reference to what? Fine, because I don't know where it's supposed to go or where we're replacing it at. Like,
up there?
We didn't take any soil out. And if you're turning it into a rock garden, don't you need to remove
the rocks?
Plants? No, remove plants, not add soil?
No, I know that, but also the other rocks.
Yeah.
Because rock gardens, so as much as people are like, I love rock gardens, I'm like, they're a very deliberate experience. They're not just a dump, soil on it and then ta-da, you have a rock garden. Usually they're a very specific catered experience.
Of going, you've set up the ground, you've put in the rocks that you want and in the way you want. I don't know. Wouldn't be too hard to turn this area into a little rock garden.
Like the place I was meditating in?
Yeah, no, that was a Zen garden.
Oh,
no, different kind of rock garden. It's just a garden that has rocks.
So, like the place where I was. Look, this is all a bit much to follow. I'll just call a carpenter and a landscaper. They'll finish this much faster than us.
I can't afford that, Blaine, and neither can you.
No kidding.
Okay, but, how are we paying for them?
Now here's the $1 million question. We really haven't been paying Regina, have we?
We have not.
We have not been paying Regina.
Also,
we have not been paying Luke.
How did we buy the caterpillars?
Yep.
How did we buy the butterfly benches? How did we buy the trellises? How did we buy the landscaping rock? How did we install a sprinkler system? Oh, well, all of that stuff just happened to be in the warehouse behind the plane, and I just took it out of there. And also, Aunt Mary's basement was full of all the things you would need to repair the entire garden, except for the stuff that I've hired people for.
Right.
Where again, I'm like, why didn't you bring Luke over to build the trellises like you had him build the gazebo? Because that would have made a lot of sense.
I don't understand this game. This game is vacillating strongly, so it's jumping back and forth.
Money matters. It doesn't matter. Money matters. It doesn't matter.
And somebody's going to go, it's just a game, you guys. And I'm like, yeah, I know. But the thing is that the game is literally making it important. So both of us are caring because you said that we should care. And then also at the same time, too, you're telling us, well, you shouldn't care. It doesn't matter. Yeah,
the thing is you're having a direct, immediate contradiction. I think all of our viewers are able to understand this without us digging into it too hard.
Oh, yeah.
But it continues to be frustrating going, you're making it a point anytime it's part of your spoken plot, but functionally it's never a point.
Right.
And that incredible division basically says you're playing two different games. One of them is when everyone's talking to each other, and the other one is the stuff that happens on screen outside of it.
Yeah.
And that's sort of irritating.
Right. Yes. The money thing.
I'm just not used to doing hard work, Lily. My delicate, beautiful hands.
My delicate, wonderful, fabulous, manicured... Wow. Honestly, there's nothing wrong with men having manicures. I always find it to be very frustrating when people are like, yes, manicures. But I've also never been that kind of person who goes, I love manis and pedis.
Okay.
And I'm not saying you can't do them. I'm just like, I've never understood the culture.
I had a manicure one time, and it was for a, let's all do a girls thing. And I went, okay. And all the girls are like, let's do this. And I went, okay. I know someone who can do them. Okay. And so I went and I got a manicure with everyone because at someone's house, because that's what they were doing. And it was a really, it was a thing. It was okay.
That's fine. I actually went to, okay, so full disclosure, I've actually been to a place to go get a manicure before.
I have never been in one of those salons before.
I have actually
salon?
been a nail salon.
Ah.
But that was literally with other people. I wasn't there for me. That was something that other people, and I believe it was actually with relatives at the time.
Okay.
But I just really was like, whatever.
But yeah, I've heard that a lot from
just with my mom.
women that I have known, especially from women that were raised higher class than I was.
Right.
That I've met being like, oh my god, manicures, pedicures, that kind of thing. And I'm like, I'm not getting the pampering experience out of it that you are. Maybe I just don't have enough connection to it. But I've also done a lot of manual labor and working with my hands. What?
My friend.
What did I say?
Imagine white women enjoying people, doing things for them and rubbing their hands and their feet. I'm literally having a slave narrative.
Oh.
Like, that's a culture thing. But people have actually also talked about it. So they actually talk about how since a lot of the salons are run by typically like immigrants or people sometimes who are illegal immigrants or a lot of people who basically just don't really speak a lot of English, there's a lot of basically
I think
narrative.
what you're looking for is foreigners and immigrants.
I know,
Okay.
but it still is basically a thing of going like, but I deserve to have basically people who are lower class than me and people who are always lower class than me. Like, it's the thing with Aunt Jemima. So if you guys don't know, the Aunt Jemima pancake syrup is finally, after all this time, going to be changing their design and their name because Aunt Jemima was specifically about, the serving black woman who's your Aunt Mammy. She's gonna take care of you now, honey. She's gonna be here for you. She loves you.
Syrup on your pancakes.
So, and that narrative, you can see that a lot, in my opinion, like going to some of those nail salons.
Okay, so I guess
that's
something I never really connected to, and I'm not saying that being white lower class is anyway the same as being a POC lower class.
Oh yeah.
But a person of color. Just for anyone who isn't, has only read it but hasn't seen it, because that's a thing for me. And with dyslexia, that's sometimes really a thing of hearing it versus seeing it. And
I always think the one of the bi POC is always throwing me off, even though it means black, indigenous, person of color.
Oh,
that's what that stands for.
Like BIPOC.
Yeah, BIPOC.
But anyway,
it's like Tupac.
I was gonna say I've just never connected to wanting other people to serve me in any way. Even when I've been in management, there was no interest in having power over people or wanting them to serve me so much as getting a job done as a group the best way we can.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, just being poor give you a more teamwork mentality, or maybe that was just, my family's all loners, so I have no idea where I got that from.
I don't know.
All right, the money thing.
The money thing. Ah, yes.
That very thing. Come on, we just need to place some soil and make a pathway. And
At
maybe
least
get all the grass out of here and possibly remove that
He's so
stump.
sad.
And
He's like,
nonetheless, he is doing it. Him, fling, toss, goodbye. I've just thrown my cares to the wind.
Wah, poof. That's a pathway? Okay, sure.
So this is the pathway leading off into oblivion over here?
Sure, why not? I don't understand.
Starting with a rock step off of the La Rosa thing. See? It wasn't so bad. Also, the soil just buried.
Wasn't so hard.
Hard. It wasn't so hard. Not as hard as some things.
Not as hard as a rock.
Not as hard as things that I have no interest in right now.
Thanks, that I haven't had an interest in for probably over 5 years.
Well, no. Honestly, I know that kind of grinding it in, we'll make it work kind of thing, and I will find ways to be interested.
I know.
Probably things that I haven't had interest in since maybe the last 6 months of our relationship.
Yeah, probably. Mm-hmm. See? Wasn't so hard. I would have been much easier to not have to do it at all.
Blaine, are you trying to reconnect with me or not? This place will look even better with some color. Let's put some colored rocks in, because, oh my god, I love colored rocks. They're amazing.
Yes.
Like different kinds of sandstone or things like that. Or, different types of granite that have a lot of pretty things to them.
Flowers?
This is not a rock garden then, that's a flower garden.
That's a flower garden.
Alright, well in the next one, we'll figure out how to make a rock garden into a flower garden that's both rocks and flowers. But it is a rock garden.
Oh my god.
Maybe we're going to plant granite poppies. It's Alice in Wonderland, we'll have rock flowers.
Oh, that would be super great. Honestly, I'd be super into it, but especially considering that we have a patron god, we could probably create, growing rocks.
Oh, that would be amazing.
So cool.
You just have these granite roses come out of the soil kind of thing. That would be amazing.
And you have the layers of the sandstone that sort of just peel open into this weird lettuce experience.
Yeah, bloom out into a sort of blossom thing.
That would be so neat.
Anyway,
I guess maybe you probably want to do more shale probably than sandstone, but that would
shale might be amazing. Oh, you could get the rose quartz that actually does the rose patterns.
Oh, that would look amazing.
Very pretty.
Oh God. Okay, we're trying not to give anybody art ideas, but we're totally here giving people art ideas, I'm sure.
Or if you need something cool for your role-playing campaign, just go right ahead, my dude.
Yeah, why not? Go after your basically, earth deity that's gonna be like, I create gardens that look like flowers, but they're all rocks and crystals and design, and basically geological structures.
So next time you have a geological mage that your characters, that your party needs to quest to go get something from, have them walk through the most phenomenal rock garden you've ever, they've ever conceived of, and just be very happy with yourself.
Them
very
going,
self-satisfied.
Everyone just told me I needed a garden, and so I got tired of it. And I made one.
And it's
one. Better than everyone else's.
And you know what? The flowers don't wilt.
Ha!
And they look amazing when there's ice and snow on them.
Oh.
Now, what can I possibly do for you? All right.
Oh God, salt flowers.
Uh-huh.
Because this particular I'm sorry, I'm having a time here. That'd be so cool. All right, thank you very much, guys, for joining us. If you like what we do, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and please also feel free to share our videos with anybody that you think you want to share a point with, or just have fun with, or just share in a conversation with. So, and then also if you want to support us more directly, please also feel free to go check out our Ko-fi or our Patreon. We've got links in the description down below. And other than that, though, I have been Scandal.
And I have been Lies. And it was great playing with you. Bye!